I've been there, I don't know, how many years is that? 24, something like that, yeah. So 24 years, I've been exec now, going on 17. Actually, I just crossed 17, March 1. Holy cow. So anyhow, time flies when you're having fun. So, been around for a while. So I want to talk about the journey that I've been a part of with BGAV since 1995. Where I came in, believe me, I'm in a different world now than I walked into when I stepped in that office way back when. My hunch is you're probably experiencing similar things where you are. Just the whole world has radically changed. Before I get into that, let me say this. When we live out our faith well, it is one of the most beautiful things in the entire world to see. And when people see it lived well, they really are attracted to this gospel that is ours. And we, as churches, as associations, as BGAV, we really got to start living this well. What do I mean? Let me tell you where I've just seen it lived well to the point that it stirs my soul to this minute. 11 of us left Virginia about a month ago and flew to Lebanon. Lebanon has gone through all kinds of crises. I mean, it's always in the news for some horrible thing or another. Baptists in Lebanon can't, because it's such a strong Muslim country, can't call themselves Baptists, so they call themselves the Lebanese Department of Education and Development. I mean, how do you get Baptists out of that? I don't know. But anyway, that's the Baptist group. So we go over and we're trying to figure out how they're doing the refugee work, because we're doing refugee work with European Baptists up in Croatia and Hungary and Austria and Greece. But we wanted to see where all this refugee stuff is starting. And it's all starting in Lebanon. Let's go find out where they're all gathering before the UN disperses. So we go over to meet with our Lebanese folk, because they really have a strong refugee ministry to Syrians, Egyptians, Saudi Arabians. They have a great ministry going. We want to go learn from them and see what they're doing. Do you remember 10 years ago in Lebanon, Syria attacked Lebanon, came over the mountains with their tanks? Poor Lebanon, 3/4 of the border is bordered against Syria. The other 1/4 is bordered against Israel. I mean, they're just surrounded by people that don't like them. The poor Lebanese. Well, the Syrians just came across that border and destroyed the churches, destroyed the homes, killed thousands. Every family we were with had someone killed, Lebanese family, by the Syrian army. Horrendous stories. There's 3 or 4 I'd love to tell you, but I don't have time. So we go to this one church on the Syrian border, the church that was destroyed by the Syrian tanks. And we go there because the Syrians right now are in the middle of a civil war. 10 years ago they attacked Lebanon. Now they're in the middle of a civil war because of Muslim factions fighting each other. So there's a huge migration of refugees pouring out of Syria into Lebanon. The very people who killed them are now pouring in their country as refugees. Lebanese hate the Syrians. Can't imagine we'd be any different. If someone killed your child, blew up your home, destroyed your church, you probably wouldn't have a lot of affection for them, would you? Well, this is only 10 years ago, folks. And they're pouring in. Next to this church we went to visit were 55,000 Syrian refugees living in a little hovel town. All Muslim, women in full black burqas, head coverings, everything. Full town, very poor town. Church we were in had been destroyed. Congregation of 30. You got that? 55,000 refugees. Congregation of 30. People hate the Syrians that are there. They're the ones that attack. And this little church is starting a ministry to the Syrians. When we walk into the church, every Sunday school room is a classroom of Syrian children, because none of them have education, taught by one of the members of the church who lost somebody by one of their folk. The fellowship hall, like this, was divided where men were learning craft skills over here and women were learning how to sew over here so they can make a little nickel and dime to help buy food in that refugee camp. And that refugee camp is not supported by the UN. They're simply abused there and exploited. They have nowhere to go. Can't go home, they get killed. Can't leave because nobody wants them. They're stuck. This little church of 30 is taking care of them. Well, I said their church was destroyed. So what church are they, what Sunday school rooms are they in? Well, the facility we saw was gorgeous. This beautiful facility where they worshiped and where they took care of the Syrians next door to the church. So I asked the pastor, can you tell me who built this building for y'all? I made an assumption, didn't I? Because they are poor. I mean, the country, that part of Syria, of Lebanon was destroyed. They're poor. And I said, who built the building? He said, nobody did, we did. You raised the money to build this? Yes, it did. Not $1 came from outside our church. Well, how'd you do that? Because I mean, an offering of nothing is nothing. I don't know how you build something out of nothing. Well, we decided we would take up an offering. And everybody in the church agreed we'd do it. And every one of us went up individually and we made our offering in the offering plate. And we gave the most sacred thing any Muslim owns, or any Arab owns. So what was that? We all gave our wedding rings. That was the only thing of value that we owned. And we built this off our wedding rings. And the Christian faith is lived beautifully, lived well. It is a beautiful thing. And they did it for the enemy. Oh man, we gotta get to be people like that. Heaven breaks out when God's people live like that. So my question is, how does heaven break out through us? In what ways can we be the fresh face of the gospel in a society that's been inoculated with the gospel just enough they don't want anything of it? The job is harder now than it was before because they've got inoculated with it. So how do we take this gospel in such a way that it so compels the heart that they want to reach out for the gospel that they need? It's their salvation we're talking about. So this isn't a light conversation. This is a heaven and hell conversation. This is a life and death conversation. This is the church having a tomorrow or not conversation. And believe me, there's a lot of them that have already closed the doors and many aren't far from it. Know what I'm talking about? So how do we begin to turn this thing around? So now let me start with that in mind. We're trying to be something, make this faith beautiful again so that it becomes something that people say, now that is what I would like to give my life to.